Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Still on Shanghai time. I got home Monday past midnight, walked through my door after 30 hours of travel, straight to the wife leaving out of town for work. So it's just me and the kid and all my work. So if I pass out a couple times during the show, that's just kind of how my day's been.
Gotcha.
Just yell really loud. Just do like a clapping sound or like try to scare me. Or
I didn't have a buzzer or something.
Yeah, something like that. Be like, John Gruden's back. And be like, what? Huh? And then I'll start getting ready to go.
Do you have any time to give her a little pickle tickle before she left?
Fuck no. So I come home, and when I'm gone, the baby, like my daughter's like 3.5, and she's getting at the age where she sometimes gets nightmares. And so I come home and she's in bed with my wife, completely passed out. So I have to kind of like roll her over, skinny my way in. It's like 1 o'clock. I have to get up at 7. Got my radio show at 9. And then it's just been me and the kid the last 2 days. And I picked up all these other projects with like UFC stuff. But I wouldn't miss this for the world. Didn't get a lot of good Raiders talk in China. But I did get some pictures with my Raiders hat around Shanghai. Nice. I posted one of them. I bring Raider Nation with me everywhere.
Excellent, sir. Excellent.
Yes. Excellent.
Much appreciated.
Question of the day. And this question will be posted and pinned on the comment section. As always, as we do with the Autumn Windbags. And we'll get exactly why this is the question of the day. This was a question that we were asking before this week, before the recent news. When the Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo, you're like, okay, we know what we're getting. Arguably, not that tough of an argument to make. He's the most injury-prone quarterback in football. So the question is, how many games does Jimmy G start for the Raiders this upcoming season? Let us know in the comment section. So as it turns out, we'll get to it a little bit deeper as the show goes on. But when he was signed, when the Raiders signed him, he still had an injury on his foot that wasn't fully recovered. And now there's a part of his contract, there's a clause in the contract that if he isn't fully recovered by a certain point, you can just waive the entire contract. He doesn't get a dime. That signing bonus is now pushed off until he's cleared, all that stuff. So before he even suits up, he's not even getting a signing bonus. The Raiders literally haven't paid him a dime yet.
He has gotten zero money so far.
Unheard of in football. This is like Antonio Brown type of situation where he's like in the building practicing, kind of a Raider, but hasn't gotten a dime yet. That's Jimmy G. So he's already injury prone. He's a Fabergé egg. And now he's coming into the season, injury prone. With that said, 17 games in the regular season. Fingers crossed. Maybe let's hope he gets some playoff games in there. How many games does Jimmy G start for the Raiders this season? Soto, do you want to go first?
Are we talking playoffs too, or just regular season?
Let's assume the Raiders go to a Super Bowl. How many of those?
Let's just do regular season, okay?
Okay.
Hey guys, calm down. They're fighting over there. Fucking
look
at him.
Yeah, I see him. All riled up thinking about Jimmy.
I know, right? They're like, fuck Jimmy. I'm hoping for 12 to 13.
Okay.
I'm trying to be realistic. I would love. I'm hoping for 17, right? But I would realistically, if he started 13 games, I'd be like, all right, we can maybe hold down the four games.
So are you thinking like that's all like kind of? How are you seeing those games missed? Is it like sprained ankle midway through the season, misses 2 games? He doesn't come back from his surgery until week 3. Or are you like, all right, he made it to week 13, season-ending injury? How are you seeing that spaced out?
I see it being something that he misses 4 games in a row, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
4 games in a row.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since he's been a full-time starter with the Niners, 2018, right? Came in at 2017, played 5 games, went 5-0. 2018, he's the starter. He played 3 games that season before he got hurt. 2019 was the year that he played the entire season, all 16 games. 2020, he played 6 games. 2021, he played 15 games. 2022, not starter, came in because of injury, and then got hurt again, and he played 10 games.
It's 1-1 and 1-1. So we got the good year this year.
So it's 3, 16, 6, 15, 10. One full season between them.
Now it's a year for him to play a lot of games.
If you average it out, he plays about 10 games a season. If you average it out. And since he's coming into the season injured, I think if we get 10 games, we're kind of lucky. Right? He's coming in injured. And as you know, I'm going to turn 40 here in 2 weeks. The older you get, the more injury prone you get for multiple reasons. One, you're just kind of older, right? Your body breaks down over time. But two, especially when you're already injury prone, your body compensates for other things. Like even me, right? I'm not I didn't play in the NFL for 10 years and all those years of college ball, but I wrestled 4 years in college, 7 pro fights, decades of jiu-jitsu and wrestling, all this kind of stuff. My body breaks down and things around it start to break down. Like my lower back turned into sciatica problem, which has turned into a knee problem, which it all starts to compound each other.
Yeah.
So Garoppolo's coming in with all these injuries and your body has to compensate the other way, right? If he's got one foot injured, his other foot's compensating for it. Now that foot's now injury prone and it just all starts to build. So to think he's going to get healthier the older he gets, I don't think is realistic. I think 10 games would be a win. I think 10 games, 10 starts out of 17 games would be optimistic based purely on his history. Now there is obviously injuries. There's a lot of randomness to it. There's a lot of just dumb luck, good luck, bad luck, super random that you can't predict. But he's got a track record. And like we saw with Josh Jacobs, right? Track record of getting hurt. Didn't that last season. Like behind one of the worst lines and with one of the heavier workloads of his career. It was a contract year, so maybe that helped a little bit. I'm saying around 10 games, just based purely on math, and I think I added 1 game of optimism.
Yeah, look, it's possible for someone to deal with the punishment of the NFL better as they get older if they train smarter. Mm-hmm. Like once I mean, I'm gonna use him because we'll talk about him later. But once Tom Brady stopped using the Pats shit and started using his own guy, like he got healthier, he got in better shape, he got stronger, he physically looked different, and he was able to play a lot longer than you would suggest somebody of his athletic talent.
Ditch the strawberries, grab the avocado ice cream.
There you go. Yeah. It's possible. It's possible.
We need Jimmy G to stop with the thick ass triple D strippers and move on to the petite.
Look, man,
you know what I mean?
The Asians.
Yeah, like the barely 18 porn, the really tiny ones that can't hurt him. I don't want some thick ass Latina bouncing on him. Like that's gonna start. He's gonna throw a hammy out, a groin injury.
That's a hip problem right there.
Yeah,
trust me, I know. I got one.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I just want to make it very clear. He said over 18.
Yes, over 18.
Very clear.
Definitely legal. Definitely legal. I just want him petite. I don't want ones that can hurt him. I don't want
we don't want no Wendy Whoppers over here.
With Aiden O'Connell, aka Farva, I don't want the type of chick who's from Beer Fest when the dude gets drunk and he thinks he's banging the super hot chick, but really it's just a 300-pound black chick.
Ugh.
And she goes I'm gonna break your dick off when she's riding him.
I like mustard on my hot dog.
Licking his toes with mustard. I don't want that.
I don't want that.
I don't want that. I want the girl that he thinks he's banging when he's drunk, not the huge one that he's actually banging.
It is not any type of preference here as far as what's better. It's what's better for his health.
Purely for the physical therapy.
Always.
That's all I want. So let us know what you think. How many games does Jimmy G start for the Raiders this season? Are we being too pessimistic? We're saying, look, it was all scheme, all bad luck. He'll make all 17 games, won't miss a play. Are we being too optimistic? It's like, he's getting older. He's not going to get healthier. You guys are crazy. Let us know. Comment section. The reason we bring this up, we'll dive deeper into that whole issue. The news broke a few days ago. There's an addendum to Jimmy Garoppolo's contract with the Raiders. Like we said, where because of that foot injury that's still he's not recovered from, he doesn't get any money until he's cleared. The Raiders, if he does not clear, the Raiders can just move on from him and just say like, nope, it's like you never were here. It's not even a divorce. It's an annulment, right? No division of assets, no custody battle, none of that. It's like, Jimmy, hope you enjoyed the casinos for the last month. You're a free agent. Go get healthy. Go play somewhere else, right?
Yeah, they're starting to call him Jimmy Addendum G.
Yeah, Jaddendum.
Addendum G.
So it's a 3-year, $72.75 million contract. $33 million of that's guaranteed. His $22.5 million base salary is this season. All that can be waived if he doesn't pass this physical.
Yeah.
So, a couple things. I guess we now know why, when it was supposed to be signing day for Jimmy G in the press conference, they waited a day. They're like, oh shit, this guy can't even walk. And we're supposed to sign him a third of a 9-figure contract, right? $33 million. Did the Raiders, does this make you proud or worried about the Raiders organization? Because they signed a dude that was hurt, that has a history of being hurt, but they did catch it before it was a major issue. Does that make sense? Does that make you feel like, okay, because they kind of saved themselves, but should they never have been in that situation? What do you think?
Let's just follow the logical steps here. You have a quarterback that was injured and missed the end of the season because of injury. Okay. You sign the guy, you bring him in, and you put him through a physical. The reason why we didn't have the press conference the first day was because he failed the physical. Mm-hmm. They had to rework some of the contract verbiage. And the next day, everyone was cool with it, and they went through with it. Okay, let's take a look at it. Something that's very important here. This is not up to like arbitration. All right, this is not up to like a third party to see if Jimmy G is healthy enough to play and passes his physical or not. Mm-hmm. This is solely up to the Raiders. This is solely up to the Raider doctors. So Jimmy G said, "Yeah, man, cool. Your doctors can pass or fail me. That's fine." Now, that seems to be a little bit of a conflict of interest if there's a question if he's going to be healthy enough to play. Now, if the injury was like, look, the doctor's like, look, this injury isn't healing the way I want it to heal. I would feel much better if you do this corrective thing to it. It's going to take, just like a broken bone or whatever. It'll take 6 weeks and it'll be fine. Right? And he'll be back in plenty of time because it's done in March. He'll be back in plenty of time for training camp. Not going to be a problem. And Jimmy G's like, cool, man. If that's the case, then sure. I'm betting on myself that I'm going to be, because you're telling me I'm fine. And Jimmy G agreed not only to be able to wipe all the contract out if he's not healthy enough, he agreed to let the Raiders doctors be the deciding factor. Not a third party, not his doctor, nothing, just solely on the Raiders. So all that together tells me this is not a big deal. Now, I also heard Michael Lombardi on his podcast say, especially with veteran players who have an existing injury, this is common. This addendum is common, especially with veterans, that he's done a ton of contracts, which he has. He's been player personnel and GM and all that stuff all over the league with like 4 different teams. And it's commonplace to have this in there. And the fact that it was put in there and that Jimmy G agreed to have the Raiders doctor be the sole deciding factor to this, I don't see this being a big deal.
They should have added an addendum that said you can no longer bang porn stars with kids, because I don't want them waking up in the middle of the night and stepping on like a Lego set.
A Lego set, dude. That's bro. I saw a video of a guy. He stepped on one of those little charger boxes with the little prongs in it, and the prongs went in his foot. That is a new nightmare of mine.
Yeah.
I shuffle my feet. If I can't see, I just shuffle it.
I've learned that. So like, us Southern California boys who grew up going in the water, you're supposed to shuffle your feet so you don't get hit by a stingray, right? If you step on a stingray, that's how they sting you, because their tail comes up and gets you. If you shuffle, you won't get stung. So I've learned the shuffle, the 2-footed the beach shuffle. And I've learned that just from surfing, but I've able to adapt the technique for parenting.
Those Legos hurt,
you learn that as well. So there are definitely already issues in the sense that like he's not a full participant in OTAs, which isn't the end of the world, but you want him there. Brand new quarterback, right? You got to start building chemistry with. He's not participating fully, right? He's doing rehab, he's lifting, he's doing
he's in all the meetings
and stuff. So he's he's not he's doing homework. So but like I said, he's not a full participant of OTAs, right? You need to be building chemistry with Davante and Hunter and all these guys, right? Like you said, not the end of the world. It's just OTAs, but he already is behind a little bit. Okay. That's done deal. The other part is, yes, he agreed to do all these things, but I don't think he had a great plan B. I don't think he had an offer from, the Panthers that was $32 million guaranteed. And he went with the Raiders because it was 33. I could be wrong, right? I'm obviously don't read the mind of every GM and Garoppolo's agent, but I don't think there was any offers out there that were even close to what he was getting with the Raiders. So I think that's also part of the reason why he said, like, whatever addendums you want to do, you are in full control because I'm not going to get a better deal anywhere else. So those are my concerns.
Was there a better deal out there than zero though?
Well, but this is the thing. If the Raiders say you're out of here, like that, he's damaged goods this offseason, right? Mm-hmm. So like if he doesn't agree to this and the Raiders bring him in, prepare a press conference, delay the presser one day, and then say, no, we're not signing you. You failed the physical. He's damaged goods to the other 31 teams. So I'm hoping you're right, Soto. I'm hoping it's just like,
yes and no. I mean, to like the general public, yes. But to the teams that do their homework, it can be like, all right, what happened? Well, the agent's going to say, look, they wanted us to do a totally Raider-friendly deal, completely 100% Raider-friendly. Mm-hmm. Not only are they the ones saying that if he's healthy or not, but they owe him absolutely zero if they say he's not. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but as long as they say he's not, he gets zero, and we didn't want to agree to that. That's the reason why he didn't go through. So it's
and that would be what a good agent would do, right? That's the argument they would make, and whether other GMs, buy it or not or whatever, it's
the truth.
31 other GMs.
It's
also the truth is he was signed and the Raiders were at the 11th hour got rid of him because of injury. Like that's also still the truth. So again, none of this is black and white. It's not like, if the Raiders said no, he's out of football forever.
Well, wait a second.
It clearly doesn't help him.
Wait a second. If in the scenario that you posed, if he didn't sign, it wasn't because he wasn't healthy. It's because he didn't want to sign that contract. So it was still possible for him to be healthy for the year to start, but he didn't want to sign that Raider heavy friendly contract. That's the reason why they didn't sign him, because they were still willing to sign him if he agreed to that contract. So that's the reason why he didn't sign.
But that's my point is but now he's shoved into that corner because of an injury.
Does it hurt him? Yes. Is it as bad as you're saying it is? No. It's not like, he's unsignable now because of this injury. That's not the case.
I never said he was. Said he was.
I'm pushing it further to prove a point.
But it hurts.
It does. No, definitely does. If he didn't sign with the Raiders, it does definitely hurt.
There's no way he comes out of this with not there being some bad optics to it. So best case scenario is he passes that physical in the next month,
which everybody in the building expects him to do.
He plays fine, the foot's fine, whatever, right? Even then though, he's already the most injury questioned player in football. Is there a single player in football that's like high profile or injury is the number one question more than Jimmy G? I don't think so. And now all you've done is confirm everyone's big
Christian McCaffrey
by adding this one to it. Even Christian's gotten more than one full season, right?
I think last season was his like first full on season where he played every single game. I'm pretty sure
he played on two different teams.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's up there. If he's not number one, he's in the conversation.
I was just thinking about it, and he's definitely for quarterbacks for sure.
So my second question: is there any part of you And by extension, you think there's any part of Josh McDaniels or Dave Ziegler that's kind of thinking to themselves, maybe we can get out of this. We promised him the $70 million deal, $33 million guaranteed for a quarterback that's thrown 6 picks in 4 playoff games. He's played on an amazing team. That's been the success. Do you think, because this may end up being a blessing, right? They get him into the room. Maybe he's not as smart as they remembered. He's not the little drills that he can do. Maybe it's not working out all that great. This gives them a chance for him to be basically a Raider, be in meetings, be in practices, not full participant, but, still in there, and then still be able to have a full refund option as if you never bought. So this is sort of a blessing in a way for the Raiders specifically. And I'm wondering if they're going to use it. It's like, I could think of some other uses for that $33 million other than a quarterback that's can only get through one season healthy.
I don't think so. I think that they were comfortable with the player. That's why they gave him the contract. The injury is just an insurance policy against something that they don't, that nobody in the building, nobody that knew of the situation, doctor included, expects him not to be ready. Mm-hmm. So, and
I'm hoping that's true and not just like everyone being hunky dory, right? Because when this all happened, like, because the day after they delayed it, everyone's like, everything's fine, no issues. No, it was no delay of anything. Everything's 100%. And we found out later that it was this.
Bro, how impressive is the fact that this didn't get out till like 2 months later?
That's we bitch and moan constantly about how like the Raiders don't give us anything. Like at least give us like a little insight. We get it. You want to be competitive. You don't want to give any of the other 31 teams.
They got that front office locked down. That's just locked tight. Than a virgin's honey pot.
Mm-hmm.
Look, man, I understand where people are coming from. I understand like the pause for concern, but you have to take a look at it logically. Like, no player is going to agree to something that's so against them. It's so one-sided. This contract is so one-sided as far as the execution of it. If they didn't feel like everything was going to be fine. And the fact that was the first day of training camp.
It goes back to
the first day of free agency, excuse me. There was an option for them to move forward for someone else. If there was any sort of like pause or any sort of like concern that he wasn't going to be ready, then yeah, they could have gone in a different direction. But the fact that they stuck to their guns is, number one, they probably liked him that much and knew that he could perform well. And number two, they didn't feel like the injury was anything that was going to hinder him from playing.
Well, look, I know where the Raiders did it because they have nothing to lose, right? They have this great contract. If they get to have him in the building for a month, and if they're not satisfied, then he's gone, right?
Also,
great for the Raiders. They have nothing to lose in this situation.
That's not true. That's not true at all. Because what are the options now? That's something to lose now.
Well, you don't have an option. That was already done, though. Right? Like they had already moved up, let Jared Stidham go. They'd already kind of like done that.
There was other players that were available at the time to sign. They could have signed another guy.
How about this? What was the second best deal you think that Jimmy G had? Because you're saying like I hope you're right that he's just like he's super confident in his recovery, and that's could very well be the case.
It's not about him being confident. It's about the Raiders doctors being confident and the Raiders being confident.
No, you're saying he's confident because he signed a deal that gives the Raiders all the power, right? You're saying like he has to be confident in his recovery that he'll be fine because he signed this deal where they have all the power, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the case. But the other part could be maybe he wasn't really getting any other offers, and so rolling the dice on 33 million or 75, right? 33 million guaranteed, 75 million big one. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, maybe I'm 50-50 or 60-40 or 70-30 or whatever the number is, but the money is so high. Mm-hmm. I'm rolling the dice on the Raiders, right? Because my other offers were so little that it's not worth me saying no to the Raiders and trying to take the second best. It's worth rolling the dice. I'm in Vegas now, right? I'm making a gambling. And again, this is all speculation, right? Yeah. There's such varying degrees, but just the more JT the Brick did a little video. He's like, oh my God, it's all these Raider haters that think it's a problem. Jimmy G says he'll be fine. The Raiders say he's going to be fine. He's in the building. It's like, pump the brakes, man. We were this worried before this news came out that Jimmy G was going to have injury problems. Like, but before this came out, we're like, that's the number one issue, right? Like, we're all kind of like, okay, that's a lot of money guaranteed for a guy that gets hurt all the time and only played for amazing teams. Like, we're already kind of, let's be careful here, guys. And then this happens. It's just, if this was Derek Carr, who's like one of the healthiest quarterbacks ever, we'd be like, okay, he'll get healthy and he'll play because that's always what's happened. He's missed 2 games because of injury in 9 seasons. We find when it's Jimmy G, you're compounding a problem that you're already compounding the biggest problem with the quarterback. Hence my worry.
Mm-hmm. I look. The reason why he only missed 2 games was because the injury was on the 3rd to last game of the season. If he had, excuse me, sir,
I want to chime in.
Yeah, all right. If that injury would have been earlier in the season, it wasn't like he was going to be. He's like Wolverine and be able to come back the next week. Like, no, he was going to be done for the year, regardless of when that injury took place. So let's just have a little hindsight on that. It's hard for me to believe that an entire organization and a medical staff would sign off on something if it was that big of a deal. If it was a roll of the dice, this fucking guy, man, I'm gonna kick him out.
Jimmy G a pussy.
He is. He probably found something in the wall or some bullshit. I'm trying to cover him up, but I just it's hard
mice in your closet,
right?
No, look. I like I said, this could be a blessing for the Raiders because they're in a no-lose situation. Other than time, right? They'll lose a month with someone else that should be taking the QB1 reps, but it's and not getting somebody else. So it's not 100%. But now instead of like just kicking the tires and hoping you bought a good car, you get to test drive it for a month and then bring it back with nothing, right?
Like Carvana, you can do that.
Carvana, right? They didn't go to a dealership; they went to Carvana. This could end up being a blessing in disguise. If Josh McDaniels gets him, he's like, look, you're not the same guy. The injuries are starting to mount up. I got other plans for that $33 million we're guaranteeing you. We dodged a bullet. That could be a case too. Because it's a no-lose situation for the Raiders.
It's a hard situation with this year though. Like what are you doing at quarterback this season? Because you look, for a fact, Brian Hoyer. Exactly. If that's gonna have to be the answer. If they
would have kept Jared Stidham, I think this conversation is different. Where it's like, okay, let's roll the dice on the guy who played really well for 2 games. We're going super cheap. Maybe he's in the building last year. He knows the system.
Yep. He responded well. He played well when he was there. I get it, but let's just say, for example, I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be a possibility either. He's far too erratic. He's not coachable. He's not accurate.
Locker room poison.
He's not anything that Josh McDaniels covets in a quarterback. Okay,
it's a ginger. Just negatives just stack up.
Fucking gingers. So let's just say, for example, Jimmy G's not the answer, and we move on from him. Brian Hoyer is going to be the starter up until Aiden O'Connell is competent enough to start. Not even if he's a better option at the time, because I think they see his ceiling being higher than Brian Hoyer's. So then it'll just be
clearly Hoyer's in what 16th year or something like that.
Yeah, the Aiden O'Connell era will begin within the first month of the season, if not right away. I'm not saying that's a good thing or bad thing. I'm saying that's the alternative if things were to go sideways with Jimmy G.
Hoyer is in the building 90% as a coach, right? That's why he's here. It's like the mentor, Garbers, O'Connell.
Yeah, dude. Hoyer is there to teach the quarterback room how to prepare for a game. And Jimmy G is there to teach the young quarterbacks how to prepare to get bitches. Dude, what if fucking Aiden O'Connell has the second season comes back with a tat on his face and shit? He's all corrupted from Vegas, corrupted his ass.
Well, this is the thing. Is there a worse person to learn to get chicks from than Jimmy G? because the way he gets chicks is just like,
so goddamn.
hey, look at me. Hey, you see this chiseled jaw and pouty come hither lips and sparkling eyes?
Dude, like it's
not
the
gonna
only
suck
problem
itself.
he has getting chicks is if his suit coat isn't tight enough, dude. Like
it's like
that's the
asking.
only issue he has.
It'd be like asking Tyreek Hill, like, all right, he's gonna teach me how to run fast. It's like, come on, he's not teaching you how to run fast. He's fucking gifted, you know. Jimmy G's not gonna teach me how to pull chicks.
But Jimmy G also plays it cool, man. You heard Austin Hooper's story about the chicks fighting over him.
No, what you do with Jimmy G is you take his table scraps. Like his table scraps are better than any of us have ever gotten, right? So like you don't learn from Jimmy G. Yeah, you're just catching Jimmy G shrapnel. Like the chicks that he's like, oh, this chick's only a 9.5, like swim move, get her out of the way. She starts crying. Aiden O'Connell straddles up. It's like, hey, babe, he's a
I think he's married. I think we should talk about him like that. He's a good dude. But if he wasn't.
Well, Farva was married.
What, was he?
Yeah, remember?
No, Landfill was married.
Landfill was married. Yeah.
Farva had the blow up doll.
Yeah. Or Landfill in Beer Fest when he's passed out in front of the fridge and the wife comes out. She's like, oh my God, are you dead? He's like giving him CPR. He's like, oh, what is that? Like,
he puts it back in his mouth.
I did that in my wrestling days. I had some weight cuts where it was just when like the weight cut's over, like Saturday night after the tournament, you just get the chair, sit it in front of the fridge, and you're just
eat everything that's in there. You're smelling shit, whatever.
Well, you smell, and you're like, that's no good. And then you eat 2 more things, and as your standards start to drop, you go back to it. You're like, okay.
Maybe if I heat it up.
Yeah. Maybe just put a little extra mustard on this week-old potato salad. It'll be fine.
God.
Well, one quarterback that will be in the is he even going to be in the building? I don't know. Tom Brady is now officially an owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. We talked about this last week. Minority owner, doesn't make any decisions. It's more mascot than anything. But with this news, the conversation's been coming out of, could Tom Brady actually play? And a guy who knows the inside and outs of those questions, a guy who's in the building, one of the best writers in all of Raiderdom, friend of the show, reoccurring guest, Vic Tafur of The Athletic joins us next. Talk about timing.
Perfect timing.
Hey, Vic.
That was good. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good.
So you watched that, was it that Andre Ward documentary? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I guess it was like the Oakland premiere. I guess it hits the TV, I think, on Friday. It was pretty good. Just like a couple hours about his whole life, from the gold medal in his childhood to retirement. But it was a big turnout, like 400 people. It was good.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
I like how when we discuss like the 1% of the 1% of the 1% in industry, like, yeah, he got a gold medal in his life, shit like that. Like, oh, you'd be like one of the most amazing accomplishments a man
World
can have.
champion, gold medal.
Yeah, no doubt.
One of the best boxers of his generation, gold medalist, all that bullshit.
Yeah, he had a good run for sure.
So are you still doing combat sports for The Athletic too then?
No, I haven't been. I'm going to start doing some more. It was weird. We made a run like a couple of years ago. We hired like 5 guys for both boxing and UFC, which kind of make a real run at it, but it didn't work out. So we kind of tabled the whole thing. So now we have nobody, I think. So I'm going to try and do some on the side while I'm not doing football. That's
honestly why I subscribed to The Athletic, was like this whole slew of combat sports writers you brought in. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like, I know half of them, I know all of them. Like, let's do it. And then they all wiped away. But then I fell in love with the Raiders coverage and the college football coverage. The Athletic college football coverage is awesome.
Vic, I only subscribe for you, man. That's
I appreciate that.
Only reason.
I appreciate you guys. That's good.
So we're just getting into let's finish up with Jimmy G.
Okay.
The whole issue with him signed, still hurt, new contract, addendum, doesn't get paid. I looked at this as like a giant blessing for the Raiders because now they're in like almost a no-lose situation. Instead of just kind of like buying the car and having to sell it used, they get to like keep him for a month, look at him completely, and then if it doesn't work out, they can say move on.
He agrees with me.
Huh. That's a interesting theory. I don't see it
they
that way.
They have nothing to lose money-wise.
Bro,
now
you're adding money-wise. Now you're changing it. Now you're changing it to money-wise.
But
I said all they lost was time.
Well, they're not going to cut him. Let's take the worst case scenario. Let's say his recovery is slower than they think. He doesn't make training camp. He hasn't passed the physical in whatever it is, mid-August. They're not going to cut him. They're just going to give him a different deal and keep. In my opinion, they're going to keep him on until he's ready to go because they have no other options. I mean, he's it. They don't want to start Brian Hoyer, so there's nobody else on the market you can go get. So he's it. So I think in their minds, yeah, it's unfortunate he needed foot surgery. It's unfortunate he had to redo the contract, but he should be ready by the start of the season. He knows the system. That's a huge edge for him coming in. He knows exactly what Josh McDaniels wants. So I think he'll be ready in time. If not, then maybe he's ready a little later than opening day. But I don't think the worst case scenario is him getting cut.
I think of a lot of other things I can do with those $33 million guaranteed than a quarterback that's probably only going to play 10 games anyway because of injury.
Right, but they're in a weird spot because, are they trying to win? Are they trying to rebuild? They're kind of in the middle, and you can't really sell.
What do you think? Are they trying to win? Because it's like everything they're doing makes me think they're kind of rebuilding, except for signing a $75 million, like guaranteeing $33 million to Jimmy G. That's the only thing that makes me say, oh, yeah, they're trying to win now.
Well, because I think the reason is because they have Davante Adams, they have Max Crosby, they got Josh Jacobs back, probably in the franchise. So you have guys in place who are top 30, top 40 guys in the league. So you can't tell these guys, yeah, we're going to rebuild and we're going to try and be good in a couple of years. Adams will be gone in a couple of years. So you got to at least try. Maybe hit a home run with Jimmy G. Maybe he and Josh connect in a way where Derek Carr, and he couldn't connect. Maybe the offense is better than it was last year, and the defense makes a step up with these draft picks. So you got to at least sell the hope and that you're trying, but you're not trying super hard. They didn't make any aggressive moves this offseason that shows you, yeah, we're trying to compete with the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Chargers in the West. So it's kind of you're taking a stab at it and kind of not really. So you're somewhere in the middle, but clearly they're preaching patience while trying to make an effort, and maybe things work out. Maybe we hit – we get lucky and we can make a run this year.
Yeah, like my opinion is like we're trying to win, but we're trying to win with our offense. Like the defense was so devoid of any talent, really, and just a couple of like 2 or 3 players really that you would want to keep around no matter what, and or even 2. Jesus. So let's rebuild the defense with young players. Let's not overspend like we have in the past and try to get lightning in the bottle and be stuck with all this dead money going forward. And let's try to win with our offense. And didn't work out last year because the offense wasn't as good as what they thought it was going to be. But now they have someone that they feel can run the offense better. And let's just keep building the offense with younger players and build it the right way. And I mean, where Mick Ziegler came from was, they don't spend big money on defense unless it's a game changer, unless they're making you a top 5 defense, right? They're not spending big money on a guy and it's not going to move the needle. So they're looking to build the defense with younger guys and, try to win with their offense.
Yeah, and if that does work out, say you hit a home run and your offense is better, you actually can score a bunch of points. Then ideally you have these pass rushers in Max Crosby, the rookie you just drafted, Chandler Jones, who was better towards the end of last year than he was the first month or two. So maybe he's better this year. And those 3 guys can help you with a lead, attack the quarterback, and maybe get some turnover. So that's the ideal scenario. The offense is better. The pass rush gets home when you have a lead and you cause some trouble late in games and you pull off some wins.
Tom Brady as a little minority owner, the fun chatter has been like, oh man, he's only 24 votes away from suiting up and playing for the Raiders. Can you imagine? My thing is like, now that you're in the building, right? Is Tom Brady anything more than a mascot there? Is there any other role? Like, is he helping the Raiders on the field in any possible way in this role, other than maybe selling tickets?
I mean, for a normal team, you would say there's no chance. He's solely an owner. But the Raiders are not, we all know, not a normal team. They do crazy shit. And they do all, things go way off script. They do some more weird shit. So I'm not going to say it's impossible Tom Brady's starting the game week 13. It's not likely, but, if Jimmy G gets hurt again, and then you get the owners to approve it, the owners, why would they say no? They like money. They like the product being better than it is league-wide. So they're going to say yeah and get them out there. So I don't know what Tom Brady's desire is to ever play again. Only he knows that, but I'm not going to say it's impossible. No, right now it's just chatter. It's there, internet fodder, but knowing the Raiders and knowing what I've seen in the last decade, 12, 13 years, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I mean, it's unlikely, but again, it's not a normal team.
Well, you're asking why would they say no? I'm asking why would they say yes?
Yeah, why would they make them better?
Would a single team that they're playing want to vote yes?
I mean, because I don't think they see the Raiders as a threat. One, I think it helps the overall league product if he's back in it. They create ratings and all this stuff. I think he's Mr. NFL. He's the GOAT. So, I mean, if they saw the Raiders as a threat to win the whole thing, yeah, they might say no. But no one thinks the Raiders are getting out of the AFC West. No one thinks they're going to make the playoffs. I think so. I don't see this as anything more than a circus act, which maybe some people are like, yeah, I'll watch that. Why not?
Other than this Garoppolo and Brady story, what's the big story out of OTAs right now? What's going on in there that's causing the most stir, biggest headline, biggest story? Is there any?
Not really. I mean, the big mini camp is next week, so we'll see. But you got so many new guys. Guys are kind of feeling their way around. I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers today in the article with us said, like, off-season workouts are really not that impressive or that important. It's kind of just a big – it's kind of a show for coaches to show that they're in charge and they have things structured the right way. So you don't really see a lot this time of year as far as guys making a move on jobs or guys getting better. It's all kind of getting down to fundamentals, make sure you're in shape. With the Raiders, like I mentioned, a lot of new players kind of getting to the mix, kind of developing chemistry on and off the field. So I wouldn't say there's any huge storylines besides the quarterback stuff. And at some point, we'll see if Josh Jacobs signs the franchise tag, and I think he will. But who knows?
Well, let's say, what about a position group that doesn't have a lot of new players and wasn't really addressed? The offensive line. What do you think how it's going to shake out towards training camp and into the season?
Well, it seems like they're saying Brandon Parker is going to be in the mix. I mean, that was kind of the plan last year before he got hurt. So I don't know if he's going to compete with Illuminor at right tackle or if they're going to move Jermaine inside the right guard. I think that's the big hole in their minds is right guard. I'm not sure they want Alex Bars to be the guy there again next year. He's a fine piece, but probably more a depth guy than a guy you want starting for you. So I think of the 5 guys that started last year, he's probably the guy they would like to replace. And I think they're fine with Jermaine Illuminor either at right tackle or at right guard. We'll see how Thayer Munford looks this year, second year. So there's got some guys who want to see how they look. But, they proved last year they're not really they like guys who are versatile. They like guys who have continuity. And I think they think their guys are good enough with their scheme so they kind of get by. They don't need to sign big names or spend a lot of money on that spot if they don't have to.
How much and has there been any effect on like Davante Adams' comments that made headlines last week and for like a week or so? He made comments and would come back on the comments and talk again. Did that have any effect on the locker room? Anything jarring from it?
I don't think so. I think that was just, I think Davante wanted to get something off his chest. He realized they probably didn't sound as great as he thought they did, so he kind of, backtracked a little bit. I think, obviously he sees, again, we talked about the roster moves this offseason. There's no reason for him to be excited about the moves they made. They didn't really try to get better that much than the offseason. So I think we'll see how he's feeling, week 5, week 6, and to get kind of a better gauge of where he's at. But I think other players kind of, that makes sense. It's not, he didn't rip anybody. He just kind of said they didn't see eye to eye. And then he said, I get along with him great. So I don't think it's a big deal right now. We'll see maybe going forward in a couple months into the season. He
sounded to me like a guy that, not disgruntled, not going to sit out, not going to cause a stir, but just kind of like, I thought I would have more say, and I thought this would be better. And he just, and I think everyone feels that way, right? I think like all of Raider Nation thought he'd be going into a better situation than he did.
Right. If we look at the timing of the comments, when he said that stuff, we didn't know that Garoppolo had foot surgery. So he knows his quarterback is not going to be a part of the mini camp. He's not going to be, so like that probably adds to his like, wow, we got a guy who can't play right now. Maybe he might be ready in a couple of months, but so he knew that. We didn't know that at the time. So maybe it helps explain maybe where he was in terms of like, I don't really see what we're doing here. And maybe, the timing of his comments is interesting that way.
I've heard a lot that the Raiders, they didn't get any better, right? Besides the quarterback position, because we don't know what's going to happen with Garoppolo, do you think they got better?
I do not. I don't think so. I think because the O-line we've talked about is pretty much the same, right? The O-line is pretty much, I don't know if Brandon Parker is anyone's mind a huge upgrade, but he is what he is. And I think you look at the receiving group, I mean, Jacoby Myers definitely is a good player, but you lost Darren Waller at tight end, so it's kind of he's more of a receiving guy than a tight end, really. So Renfro, I'm not sure what his role is going to be. So they get better at receiver, probably not. And defensively, they added a rookie pass rusher, but that wasn't their biggest need. A linebacker, they didn't really address linebacker. Linebacker's kind of a mess. A cornerback, you could say they lost last year's 2 starters. I mean, and Rocky Sin didn't have a great year, but he was solid. I mean, he wasn't what they wanted, but he wasn't bad. And I don't think you've really upgraded from him so far. So I think defensively, it's hard to say they got better than they were last year.
Who's the second best player on the Raiders defense?
Second best player on the Raiders defense.
It's a depressing question.
It's tough, man.
Am I going to say I think I might say Chandler Jones.
Okay.
I'm going to say Chandler Jones. I think and again, he wasn't what everybody wanted the first 6 weeks of the year, whatever, 8 weeks it was, but he started to play better. I think he's got the pedigree and he's in great shape. So you hope maybe he can be better this year, but there's no one else that really jumps to mind. And linebackers, I don't see anyone. Defensive backs, I mean, Merrick's the question mark. Nate Hobbs is a guy who I like Nate Hobbs, but I'm not sure where his home is. I think he wants to be a slot. They want to play him outside. I think some of his limitations are evident outside. So, I mean, I might say Nate Hobbs, but I'm going to go with Chandler Jones instead.
What do you think contributed to that slow start? Was he injured going in? I know he didn't practice every day during training camp. Like he took days off a lot. Was there something that just wasn't being talked about? I know that the buildings there are tight. They don't really get anything out.
I don't think so. I mean, I must have asked him that question. He and I get along pretty well. I asked him all kinds of questions while he was stomping. He was always in pretty good spirits. I'm not sure what it was. I don't know if he wasn't in the best of shape when he came in. I don't know if it was adjustment to the defense, like maybe he wasn't really clear where things should be. But I don't think he was hurt, and I think whatever it was, it clicked for him. After, but like I said, I think it was week 8 or week something.
Week 9 going on.
So I don't know. I mean, and I think like he would tell me back then if he knew the answer, he would fix it. So he didn't really know why he was, getting the results he wanted either. But he said getting pressure. He was, in the mix, and he wasn't getting the stats. We thought he was actually making a push even when things looked bad. So you never know. But I don't know the answer. I'm not sure he does either.
Who's the funnest player on the team to talk to? Either like straight up interview, or he's the funniest, or he always gives you inside info. Like who's the dude you're like, oh, nice. I finally got 10 minutes with this dude. I'm going to get something great.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much turnover. I mean, a lot of the guys I really liked are gone. I think Illinois is very funny. He's definitely a guy who, once he gets comfortable with you, you can chat about anything. And it's pretty entertaining. Max and I have always gotten along pretty well. He can be funny. Nate Hobbs is also can be a funny guy, but it's not one really that I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting somebody. Like in the past, it was Jalen Richard was a guy, was a go-to guy. He's long gone.
Adam Hill said the same thing. He's like, Jalen was the dude that always gave you like, if you want to get the temperature of the locker room, Jalen was always on.
And Darren Waller was always in a good mood. He was always a guy who's fun to talk to about different things. So he's gone. I mean, there's no one really. I'm trying to think on who's left. I mean, Renfro's pretty straight, cut and dried. I mean, it's not much. I mean, I would say probably Jermaine, but at this point, probably is the guy.
All right, RJ asked the fluff question. I'm going to ask a serious question here.
All right, serious question. I'm ready.
Up close. How
Mr.
much
subscribes only to The Athletic for Vic Tafur. It's like, you're really going to nail him here, Soto.
Yes.
Go ahead. Please.
How much up in person, up close? How much does Aiden O'Connell look like Farva from Super Troopers?
Not that much. I mean,
really? That's so depressing.
Well, the certain photos definitely look like it, but he's not chubby. I mean, so that's one thing. So I mean, some of the photos are like that. I mean,
come on,
that's not a great photo of him, but I see it. But up close,
same haircut.
Yeah, you don't see it as much.
You
don't see it quite as much
haircut
up close, but it's not. It's there. It's definitely there.
Does he sound or act anything like him?
No.
Damn it.
He's a very clean cut guy, much in the same kind of way Derek Carr was. They're both very religious, both very serious guys, who are kind of driven. So not a guy who's going to make a lot of jokes. I don't think, right? At least as a rookie, while he's getting comfortable, I think he's kind of playing close to the vest.
Now that Denzel Perriman's no longer a Raider, who's the player you do not want to let your girl be around?
Wow.
Jimmy G, dude.
Well, this is the thing, though.
Was
Jimmy
Denzel
G's nothing but tens.
Denzel's a threat to the women? I didn't realize that. Oh, interesting.
Well, I just guessed as much because he's just so like charming, good-looking dude, buff as hell.
I thought women always like thought Darren Waller was super hot. Wasn't he the guy they were all like
him too?
Over? Yeah,
the eyes, bro. It's got to be the eyes.
The eyes, yeah. I mean, Jimmy
ladies
G.
love Waller.
I think Jimmy G is the one who melts everyone. I mean, I just can't think of anybody else.
Okay.
I mean, all these guys are NFL players, so they're all kind of. I wouldn't trust any of them with women, to be honest. But yeah, I think Jimmy G's he's the king.
Dude, my chick doesn't even like white dudes, and she's like, "Oh yeah, this guy's handsome." And I'm like, "Oh shit, all right."
Yeah, you walked when you walked in the room for the press conference, even guys were like, "Ooh, that guy! Wow!" I mean, it was like he came in wearing the suit,
nice and tight.
Yeah, straight from the nightclub. He had the little flickers of gray in his hair and a little stubble. Like you were like, "Yeah, he's."
Glitter on his face a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah,
he's a good-looking man when the hair starts going gray and he gets more handsome. You're like, come on, that's supposed to be like a negative. You're supposed to start looking older. We're like, no, he's distinguished. It's Jimmy G.
So
he
does bro.
Is just
get it.
Your sexual energy.
He's as advertised. He's definitely he has that down.
How hot seedy is Josh McDaniels in this season? Is there any scenario where he doesn't make it through season 2? Is it like, no, he's giving him Mark Davis giving him a super long leash? Where does he stand, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a super long leash. I think Mark's trying to have patience. He knows he's made some mistakes in the past with different hires. I think he wants to make sure he gives this Patriots way, a real long run for its money, a chance to really prove that it can work. I think he's going to give him a lot of leeway. The only way I see where it may turn around at some point is if they lose a lot and the fans get really ugly. Then Mark definitely feels for the fans, definitely listens to the fans, definitely he himself says he's a fan himself, and he was for the most part of his life. So I think if the fans got really ugly and the season really went off the tracks, then maybe. But other than that, I think he's on board for a 2 or 3 year plan. And again, for him, I think for Ziegler and McDaniels, the key this year is the rookies, how they develop, the guys you brought in. They got to show that, unlike past draft classes, you have something in place here. You can build from guys who are going to be foundation pieces. And if Mark sees that, I think he can handle whatever the win-loss record is going to be.
Go ahead, Soto.
Oh, I was going to ask, what defensive tackle? That's one of the areas for me. Defensive tackle and linebacker is like, okay, I don't really see a lot of like kind of star power. A guy that's going to step up and really. I mean, Spillane played well when he took over for Bush when he got hurt last year, but he's got his limitations. How do you see the defensive tackle spot shaking out?
Well, people I respect a lot, scouts and stuff, really like Byron Young. I was kind of skeptical of that pick. I thought it was a little too high for a guy who didn't really dominate at Bama. But you watch his tape, you can see he has the traits you want. He can play up and down the line. He's got good strength, good hands. He can move pretty well. So that's the guy they want to come in and make a little bit of a splash. And so he's interesting. I think Bilal Nichols last year didn't do much. But, again, he had some years in the past where he made some plays. So maybe it was just an adjustment, again, to the defense. I'm not sure. But there's some pieces there where I think you can be better on that front line this year.
Is there one game you're looking forward to the most this season? Like, are you going to have to be in Kansas City on Christmas?
No.
Okay.
I mean, last year I almost got stuck in Pittsburgh for Christmas. That was not good. So I'm not looking forward to that. But I'm a big Miami guy. I lived there as a youngster when I was 21, 22.
Terrible year to be in Miami. Terrible age.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I love Miami. So that's always a highlight of any schedule I see with that on it. So that's my spot.
Are tickets going to get any cheaper this season?
I mean, it's hard to say because the people who are buying them are the opposing team's fans. They all plan their trips.
That's the catch-22.
Yeah. So and then imagine if the Raiders are actually good this year, then they actually will even be more of value to them, these tickets. But no, I think this is what it is. I think that people buy them to see the other team, and that's going to be the way it is for a while, I think. So I think they won't be any cheaper this year.
The man's name is Vic Tafur. Check out his work at The Athletic. Follow him on Twitter as well, at Vic, V-I-C, Tafur, T-A-F-U-R. And I think Soto was probably subscribing to his OnlyFans as well. So you can ask Soto where to find that stuff.
I like feed pics. What do you want?
I know you do. This is great, Vic. Thanks for coming on.
All right, guys, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vic Tafur. Much appreciated. Second time, reoccurring guest, Vic Tafur. And I wasn't blowing smoke up his ass. Like I that's my number one news source for Raiders is The Athletic. Him, Deshaun Reed, Ted Wynn for like X's and O's. He's great. It's it's worth the price of admission for The Athletic.
Yeah, it's cheap, dude.
Worth it. Yeah, it doesn't cost a lot, and it's quality coverage.
Yep.
Ready to do some Autumn Windbags?
You know what?
K King 2125. I don't like the idea that if you don't like the Jimmy move, it's because you want Carr back or a Carr stand, etc. I didn't care for Carr, but in my opinion, Jimmy is an injury-prone Carr. A team with a vastly better roster, top to bottom, couldn't wait to get away from this guy. Only reason he was back with San Francisco is because of, wait for it, injury. I 100% hope I'm wrong and he carries the Raiders to the bowl. But bringing in Jimmy without a solid backup option is extremely weird to me. He's literally made it through one season. I think that kind of sums up most rational people, most of rational Raider Nation. And you get a lot of, because like Carr was very polarizing, right? People that fucking loved him, people fucking hated him. And that just kind of takes over how you view everything. It's just like through the eyes of Derek Carr. Like you were there for a while. Thank God you came out of it. But like for a lot of people, like they viewed everything through the eyes of like, is it good or bad for Carr? And it's like, just step away. Like we just want the team to win. And I sound like a broken record, but this would be so different if we kept Jarrett Stidham. If we kept him, be like, okay, you got a super injury prone Jimmy Garoppolo, but you've got a guy that maybe could really be something in Jarrett Stidham, right? He only played 2 games for the Raiders for just his like only 2 starts of his career. Played pretty damn good against 2 really good teams.
Two of the best teams that he played against.
Yeah, the Super Bowl champs and the NFC. They got to the NFC Championship game. Right? Niners went to the right. Like those are the 2 teams he played, right? And he played pretty damn well. So it's like, we never knew what we got with them. So, but Aiden O'Connell doesn't have that, right? He's a 4th. Like again, I think you and I are higher on him than most people, but a 4th rounder. There's just, the question marks are enormous. With Jarrett Stidham, it was like, the question marks are still there, but there's a lot of interesting things. I don't know. What do you make of that whole comment?
I mean, I agree with it. It's the last part really sticks with me is there is no solid backup plan.
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, Brian Hoyer is not a long-term solution. If God forbid something happens to Jimmy G mid-season, or maybe in a little bit before, you're not going to roll with freaking Hoyer for 8-9 games. Yep. That's just not going to happen. It's counterproductive to your growth. You would want to put a young quarterback out there, even if he doesn't do well, because he gets more experience and he's more valuable to you later down the line. It's just, it just wasn't really I don't like the backup plans for us right now.
It just feels like the season's over if Jimmy Garoppolo goes down, which it should not be constructed that way. With a quarterback as injury prone as Jimmy G.
I mean, to be fair, not a lot of teams are super jazzed about their backup quarterback, but we seem to be in a little bit worse position than most.
Just Raider John 8666. We should be a top 5 offense. Also, we don't hold the record for number of halftime leads blown. You can't blame DC4 for all of that. Maybe it's the 26th ranked defense. I don't know. Should we be a top 5 offense, Soto? There's some really good offenses we'd have to beat out to be top 5.
We were just out of the top 10 last year, and we had a severely underproducing quarterback. Okay. If we get a quarterback that produces to his normal ability, I mean, Vic's a great guy, dude. I think he's awesome. I think he was kind of making that mistake where he was rating the loss of Waller off of who he was at his best, not the loss of Waller off of what we got for him the last 2 seasons. I do think this offense is better. I think it can produce better because last season was such an injury-plagued season for 2 really big targets for us. So I do think that Jacoby Myers is better than any number 2 receiver we've had last year if Hunter comes back healthy. And I do think that the tight end position is going to produce better than it did last year. So with that, and I think it's going to be a better a better mix. I think it's going to be a better mix of players. Maybe not like name recognition wise, it's going to be better, but production is going to be better. So can they be a top 5 offense? I think they can be a top 5 offense. I mean, McDaniels had a top 5, like the top 6 offense with a rookie Mac and a bunch of no names, right? Not near the talent that we have on our offense, right? So he's been able to do it. We can see his offense has been able to do it. Now is can the pieces stay healthy and can they execute? Now, as far as blown leads being solely on the defense, I think we can agree that the offense does have something to play in that. When in 4 of those blown leads that we had, your offense scores 6 points in the second half. It's difficult to hold leads when your offense does nothing. Am I going to put it fully on Carr? No. Am I going to put it fully on the defense? No. It was just a mix of the two.
And if you go by points per game, the Raiders were 28th in points per game defensively, and they were 12th in points per game offensively. It's a pretty hard burden to carry as an offense. It's pretty rough. As far as can the Raiders be a top 5 offense, dude? Look at the top 5 offenses from last season. I would say they're probably going to be the top 5 offenses ish again this season. Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, Lions, Niners. That's going to be tough to be better offenses than those. And that's not including like how are the Jets going to be with why am I fucking blanking? Aaron Rodgers. Couple other things, right? I think the Bengals, I think, are only going to get better. The Dolphins are only going to get better. It's going to be tough to be top 5. It's going to be really, really tough to be top 5. And that's just in relation to the rest of the league. So many things have to go right for the Raiders to be like last season. Josh Jacobs had the season of his career. Everything he did well, he did better. Everything he did poorly, he did average or good last season. And he was healthy the entire season. Can we count on that happening again? God, I hope so.
But we also had the most important player on the offense play poorly for him, right? We had 2 of his main targets just be shells of themselves when they were on the field.
Yep.
So I think if you take a look at that, the Lions team, how many targets are they going to have available besides Amon-Ra St. Brown? Because like left and right, they're getting players suspended for gambling.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't have the second highest scoring running back in the league in Jamal Williams. He's gone. Okay. Now they did get Gibbs in the draft, but we don't know what he's going to be. We can think that he's going to be really good, but we don't know for sure.
But
now,
my point being, if everything goes right for the Raiders this season, right? Jimmy G stays healthy, clicks with his receivers, clicks with the offense, plays great. Myers doesn't have kind of a rookie start. Like he comes out of the gates firing. Josh Jacobs repeats the best season or close to the best season of his career. The O-line that was building momentum last season continues and gets even better. If all those things go right, it's still going to be tough to be a top 5 offense, even with all those things going right. And that's a lot of things that have to go right. So this idea that like, well, we should be a top 5 offense. This is on McDaniels, or this is on Jimmy G, or this is on the line. It's like,
I will amend
offense has potential to be good, but there's some really fucking good offenses in the NFL that we're going to have to overtake to be top 5.
I will amend it in this way. I think we could be a top 5 offense. Look at what the Niners did last year. And for example, are you going to count on McCaffrey being healthy an entire season again?
Yeah.
Or Deebo Samuel being healthy an entire season, or Kittle these are 3 guys on the 3 main guys on their offense who miss a lot of time.
And Brock Purdy now has tape on him. Is he going to be the same?
Yeah.
Right?
So it's like
there's questions around a lot of other offenses too.
About
but I think there's more questions around the Raiders, and everything has to go right. And even then, I'm like top 5.
Well, everything went right for the Niners last year, and they were a top 5.
Yeah.
So I see that being very similar because there are pieces to the Niners that don't normally play every single game. I mean, these guys have missed games every single season, right? Same thing with us is that we had guys that missed that were big contributors. So I think they could be a top 5 offense. I think more, I think probably the 7-8 range is a lot more likely or probable. Top 5 is that's tough. But I mean, again, the Niners did it, and they have a lot of guys that played every single game that they were available to play. McCaffrey came in, halfway through the season or partway through the season, and they played almost every game. So it's possible.
If everything goes right, I think we're still behind Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, most likely Niners.
Again, everything has to go right for them 2 years in a row.
And then you have to assume the Bengals, Chargers aren't getting better. I think if everything goes right, we're 8. I think we're 7 or 8.
Yeah, 7, 8.
If everything goes right, which fingers crossed, boys. Knock on wood if you're with me. Last one. Super Omicron. This is a team that needs every single one of its rookies to come out blasting. Christopher Smith, Michael Mayer, Tyree Wilson, the undrafted free agent OG Blake Thomas. I mean, every single one of these guys have to ball out. Aiden O'Connell coming out of nowhere especially would be great. Other than Mayer and Wilson, I don't know if they really drafted big ballers, really, really high ceiling guys. I think they drafted a lot of like good potential steady dudes, good locker room guys that do their job. And again, I keep hate saying it, Patriot way type dudes. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of what again, other than Mayer and Wilson, they were drafting kind of like core guys as opposed to baller dudes. Fair?
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's how that happens, though. Look at like a Tariq Woolen, okay? He wasn't drafted to be a high ceiling baller. It's like, okay, you draft a guy that's a good dude, that has good measurables, that has good production in college, and it clicks for him in the pros. If you take that, if you try to hit the home run and swing the home run all the time, that's what we did.
Well, that's my point. Is like, hey, all these guys, we're swinging for the fences for all these draft picks that need to pan out. It's like, no, we drafted mostly
getting solid doubles. Guys that are going to be and
trying to get on base.
I mean, they look like doubles, but they could be like, dude, this guy's a baller. He everything, kind of came together for him in the pros. But I mean, my question is the team needs every single rookie to come out blasting for what? For what to happen? For us to win a Super Bowl, for us to make the playoffs, for us to have a winning record. I mean, that's why I don't get it. I mean, I understand where he's coming from that, yeah, for us to be good, we need to have all the rookies play well. I mean, I don't know.
And this is another like best case scenario. Like, oh, we should be a top 5 offense. It's like, well, we need everything to go right, then maybe. And it's like, all right, we need all our rookies to ball out. Like that normally doesn't happen, right? Like what the Seahawks had last season is the anomaly of anomalies. Like it's just it's just never ever. We're hoping for it, right? But they have to all ball out. Like if every rookie has to ball out, then then the season's over. Like that doesn't. Yeah. It's 1 in a million.
Yeah,
we're hoping. We're gamblers.
You never know.
Come on. All right, that's it for us. Big thank you to Vic Tafur for joining us. We will keep our eye on Jimmy G-string. Keep our eye on OTAs. Minicamp coming up. The whole Tom Brady situation. What's going to happen there? It's all very fluid. Everything that's happening, very fluid. Until then. Knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.